three things a person should keep in mind when they are buying a business or assess the value of the business apart from just the financial statements.
A normal cafe or a restaurant which is being...
And as you were mentioning earlier, for the due diligence.
The other important thing is lease.
While creating a sales contract. So these kind of things need to be put in the contract.
They cannot operate a similar business for the next 24 months or...
Let's take an example of Play Center. One is better, having a franchisee business or buying a business that has been set up by the owners.
Now, 2025, some of the successful businesses are...
What is the negative impact AI is giving?
His company had like 50 developers, for example. And then he said that in the last 1 year, in the last 12 months, our workforce has been cut down from 50 to 25.
Young entrepreneurs, specifically, if I talk about. If anybody in today's day, in 2025, they want to open a business with little but no money,
there should be an agreement between partners and everything should be in writing.
Welcome back to a new episode of Real Talks with Rohit Jaichand, where real stories lead to real impact. In today's episode, we are diving deep into the topic of many dream about, but few fully understand it, buying and starting a business in Australia. Joining me is Vaibhav Grover, who is a business advisor and a broker who help many people navigate through this complex journey of business ownership. So, if you have ever asked, where do I even begin? You are at the right place. Let's jump in. Let's welcome Vaibhav in our studio. Hi, Vaibhav.
Hi, Rohit. Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure. Let's start with your journey first. Before you become a business broker and advisor, what your journey be like?
So, yeah, Rohit, I came to Australia in about 2010 and I was always in IT after my uni days. And what I did is, again, different IT jobs in banks and financial institutions. Before I became a business broker, I started my own businesses. So if you see, as an entrepreneur, I have had successes, failures, and obviously I started with one of my successful businesses, which was in the home decor industry, which I started around 2018 and obviously learned a lot from that business. And then in around 2024-25, I decided to do a journey of business advisory and broker and help people get into businesses.
Because I have seen your TikTok channel and Instagram, and you're actually sharing great insights with everyone. Let's talk about business, right? That's why we are here today, to share your knowledge with the audience. So if they are planning to open a business or planning to buy an existing business, so we can share that knowledge. Can you share three things a person should keep in mind when they are buying a business?
Or starting a business or buying a business, you have to be... It's not something like you get up in the morning and say that I want to do a business.
100%.
Obviously, the first thing when you get into a business is you need to be passionate about the idea or the business, right?
Correct.
In my journey, I have seen businesses like excellent business, but not run really well, or a business which was going down and has been run really well by the new owners and they have taken it to the roof in terms of revenue.
Yep.
Right. So when people are buying a business, obviously they need to see, first of all, they are passionate about it. Right. And a quick example here is you don't get into a restaurant business if you are not a chef. Right. Or if you are not passionate about food. Right. Thinking that I'll buy a restaurant and will start making money. And the day your head chef leaves, that's trouble for you. Right. But again, there could be people who are passionate about food and the industry and have done it well. Right. The second thing would be, again, when you're buying a business, you have to be really careful if it's an existing business, that are the financials and numbers correct, right? You wouldn't know about the business, but you take advice from your accountant, from a lawyer about the business, and they can basically verify the numbers for you, right? And the third thing is, which is very important, I always say, is that have a look at the Google reviews of that business. spend some time at the business, look at if how are the customers there, what's the customer service like of that business, are the people coming into the business or going out are happy about their experience with the business. So yeah, these are mostly the three major things what you need to be careful about. And then obviously there is a lot of due diligence which is required when you buy a business.
That's actually the next thing I would like to know, especially. So, if somebody is planning to buy a new business, right? So, how they can actually access or assess the value of the business apart from just the financial statements?
All right. Yeah, great question, right? So, in terms of assessing the value of the business, it is not just as easy as like, okay, I'll buy a business and you basically give a value whatever the seller or the vendor is asking, right? And the other thing is, which I always say to people, is that sometimes it becomes very difficult to value a business, right? It's not like a house, right? Like, for example, if you are in outer suburbs of Melbourne, where a 500 square meter land would cost you $500,000, $500,000, right? And the land next to it, somebody selling for $700,000, then you can always come and question that this is not what the value which is being sold in the suburb.
That's correct. Yeah.
With business, it's very different, right? A business running in one suburb of Melbourne to another suburb in Sydney, it varies in value, right? In revenue. So how do you value a business is that, first of all, you obviously see the numbers of the business, how much revenue they are doing, what all are the expenses. The major expenses are like rent, salaries, outgoings, which are there. You look into those. And the second is, depending upon business to business, there could be an asset value of the business as well. And third is obviously the brand name as well. To again give you an example here, a normal cafe or a restaurant which is being run without a brand, without much recognition, right, could be basically 1.5x or 2x of their net profit, right, to something like a McDonald's where people can ask as high as 8 to 10x of their EBITDA or net profit.
Gotcha.
Okay? So that is where you need to take care of what type of business you are buying and what is the value associated with it.
Apart from the financial statements, as we were discussing, right? So financial statements definitely tells you, okay, how much they are making. That you can actually calculate the actual profit of it. And on that profit, you are saying it's going to be 1.5x if it's not a brand.
Like when we say net profit, mostly be EBITDA. Right. So what you do is 1.5, 2x is for standard businesses. Something, I'll give you an example of few businesses which are kind of hard to acquire. Something like a TATS Lotto with a post office combination, you can see as people asking 3x to 4x of their EBITDA, right? So because there again, a post office is difficult to get as compared to something like a standard cafe, which is like you can set it up, or you might find a lot of cafes for sale, right? So, and again, every business has different value. As I said in the start, it's more of the brand recognition as well.
And as you were mentioning earlier for the due diligence, can you elaborate on that? Like, what are the crucial steps one should keep in mind while buying the business?
So one of the first steps when we want to take on board a business, which we ask, are obviously the paperwork around financials, which I said. The other important thing is lease, right? How much lease is left? If you are not buying a freehold, like you are not buying the property or the land there, then lease becomes very important for you, right? That would this lease be renewed after, like if there is 2 years of lease left or 3 years of lease left, would this be renewed? Because you are paying a substantial amount of goodwill with that business, right? Then can I run this business for the next 10 years in the same premises? And sometimes in shopping malls, right? Take an example of an outer suburb, right? It was not that popular, but over the last 5 years, 7 years, a lot of population growth has happened in that area. The shopping center became really busy. Now there are bigger brands who are approaching them. So the shops which are kind of outside or the main areas of the shopping center, they might just say to you that after once your lease renewal comes in that we need to move your shop and we want to give it to a bigger brand here. If they are trying to sell the shop and the lease is only 2 years left there, you need to do that due diligence that the lease is there. Correct?
Right.
So that's one of the most important ones. Numbers. And then the third thing is if you're buying a existing business, that there is no dependency on a particular person or an employee, right? That if I'm running this business and tomorrow you buy that, the customers are not coming because, okay, I'm a fashion designer or a popular chef who creates all these menu and dishes. And then obviously when someone else takes over, my brand name goes away with it, right? So that's also very important. And the third is that this we do it in our contract of sales as well. Like when somebody is leaving the business, right, we put some clauses there in terms of they cannot operate a similar business for the next 24 months, or they cannot take away the clients from these businesses to another, or they can't even kind of, for example, work in 20 kilometers radius.
So you mean the person who is selling the business?
Yeah.
Basically, let's take an example. If I'm buying a business while creating a sales contract, so these kind of things need to be put in the contract that they cannot operate or take the clients away.
Absolutely.
Got your point. And as you were mentioning about the lease, for example, a shopping center, if we talk about it, if a shopping center lease and comparatively a lease of warehouse, which is better?
That all depends upon, Rohit, what sort of business you are in, right? If you have a business where you want heavy traffic, right? Like for a restaurant or a cafe, you want people to see you and come into your business, then obviously a shopping center is brilliant for you, right? But then if you are running a business like a play center where people will basically input your address and come to that, then and you require more space, right? But you don't want to pay thousands and thousands of dollars in rent in a shopping center, then you basically take it in a warehouse and run that, right? But it all depends upon how much visibility you want.
When you're mentioning about the higher rent in shopping centers, what's the difference in rent, like if you're renting a warehouse or a shopping center shop?
Obviously, the rents are based on location. We are in Melbourne, the biggest shopping center, Chadstone, very expensive as compared to some outer suburb shopping center like Epping Plaza or Werribee Plaza.
Let's take an example of play center. A play center in shopping center and play center in warehouse. When it comes to leasing them, basically the shop or the warehouse, what's the difference you have seen so far in rent wise, I would say?
Yeah. So I'll give you an example, like something recently what we sold was in Western Suburbs, a Crocs Play Center, right? It's in a warehouse, but the rent is about $20,000, but the area they have is about 1,200 square meters, right? And then they are able to host bigger parties up to 150, 200 people in that area, right? And as compared to something which we sold in a shopping center in the eastern suburbs, right? Their rent was about 20,000 as well, right? But their space is around 750 square meters.
So almost 500 square meters.
That place center is located in a Westfield, right? So Westfield promotes that as well. And you can imagine it's not just people coming there specifically play centers. There are restaurants there. There is a village cinema there. There is shopping there. So many times it's like people are coming to do their groceries over the weekend, and out of husband and wife, the wife goes and does the shopping. The husband takes the kids to the play center. Again, so you have that higher revenue opportunity in a shopping center.
Definitely.
Also, the other thing nowadays is that there is a lot of social media advertisement and marketing which happens. So many a times it's not about where your location is. People might find you on social media and they find it like your business is very interesting, whether you are selling goods or it's a play center or something, right? If you offer that good value to the consumers, right, they'll drive down, find you and come there.
Let's talk about bit on franchises and a normal business. According to you, which one is better having a franchisee business or buying a business that has been set up by the owners?
The major difference, what it comes down to, is brand value and processes in place. I'll start with franchisees. Now, when you buy a franchisee business, you have a proven business model, right? Whether if you take, for example, McDonald's across the globe prepare the burgers in the same way, right?
Correct.
And if they are making coffee, 90% of the time you'll see that the taste of the coffee or the burger remains the same, whether you buy this in Australia or in the UK. Again, flavors vary and all. But if you buy that in Australia, America, or UK, you find the same flavor, the same process, right?
Correct.
Franchisees have defined process, right? There is a proven revenue model as well, that if we sell this thing for this much, we'll make this much percentage of profit, right? And that is consistently being delivered as well, right? In franchises, unless it's not been run properly in a way which they require, right? The third thing is in a franchisee, for example, even smaller franchisees which have 10, 20 locations across Australia, you would have a marketing which is being shared by 20 locations and being paid for by 20 locations. So you are technically getting marketing budget of 20 locations, right? Not just to your name, but people will see it across Australia. If they travel to Sydney, they'll see the same brand name. When they travel to Melbourne, they would say that, oh yes, I've seen that brand there. So this is a good brand. So I'll go and, for example, have a coffee there as well, right? If I've seen a cafe there. And the third thing is support, which the franchisees can provide. So when in business, you have certain issues that you are not unable to work due to some emergency or anything. These franchisees, they come forward and they might depute one of their own managers to your business for the time being, just to bring you up. Or if you are not doing well in the business, or if there are any quality constraints or anything, these franchisees help you in bringing up to the same level as other franchise. In terms of independent business, again, you don't need to spend a lot of cost on franchisee fee and all that stuff. You don't need to worry about the implications or kind of policies around those franchisees that you have to follow and that you can be breached out of that or something, right? You work on your own terms, in your own way, the type of marketing you want to do. So normally franchisees would be a bit more expensive as compared to a standalone business. But the decision is always yours in terms of what you want, right? What you want to do, and obviously what your budget is.
So with this, like what my understanding becoming is, definitely you pay more for franchisee, but somewhere, somehow, you get a bit of peace of mind. You have someone at your back who will look after you and
help you. And then you have a structure in place rather than creating a structure
from scratch.
Your own.
Yeah. So when we are talking about independence business, if somebody is opening their business or they are buying existing business, is there any financial supports available for individuals?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So when you're starting a business, obviously as you buy residential properties, you can always get commercial loans, and you can talk to your bank or your broker, who's a commercial broker, and they can help you assess the situation as well, right? Like how much you can lend. And it also depends upon the numbers being provided by the business, right? So obviously bank would look into what sort of numbers the business is doing, and if they give you loan. So I'll just take a minute here and explain you. For residential, the banks, what they see is what is the land value, and they value your house or the land and everything. And they say that, okay, tomorrow, if I'm unable to get this much money from the borrower, I'll take this away and sell it in the market, right?
Correct.
Business, it's very different. Unless you are buying a freehold, which is a land and property, they can assess that value, but you buy businesses always on goodwill. In the market, if you go to various brokers, and what we have seen with our clients, they can lend anywhere between 40 to 60%, right? And again, assessing upon how is the profitability of the business, how old is the business, how genuine is the business, what's the brand value of that business.
And especially when they are just assessing on the profitability or any other aspects they considered apart from the profitability.
They also, depending upon the business, some asset value as well, right? So if it's, for example, if you have a transport business and you would have 5 trucks with you, or a car rental business which has 20 cars in there, they'll obviously take that as asset value of the business as well.
For example, an entrepreneur, young entrepreneurs specifically, if I talk about, if anybody in today's day, in 2025, they want to open a business with little but no money, what that would be basically.
So again, I get a lot of this question, and if you have seen a few of my social media videos recently, we are trying to promote a lot of business culture among young entrepreneurs, or even people who are actually working in jobs and obviously look into building something, right? So you can start business as low as under $10,000, and in 2025, with all the AI technology, it's the easiest to start a business. As I said in the start, if you are passionate about something, put that idea into Chat GPT, right? Free version is available. You put your idea into Chat GPT, that how I can do this. Chat GPT will help you create a business plan, and then you can basically work on that business plan. So now 2025, some of the successful businesses are in terms of services, right? Coaching, that is where people want to do. If you have experience about something, you can share that with other people, like how we are doing that, how people can be successful, right? For young entrepreneurs, if they are good at kind of sales or marketing, and they have learned that over the past, right? They can actually apply those skills and look into a business. In today's world, it's very easy to start a business, but again, all depends upon how much time you have, what stage of life you are in, what's your idea about starting a business.
And even consistency matters. So if you start something and after 2 months you didn't give it time, it's not going to grow anyways.
Right. So, and that is where 90%, when we say startups fail, that is the reason, because they kind of cannot consistently do it.
And as you mentioned, AI, 2025, everybody is talking about that AI is taking their jobs, right? What your take on it? Basically, what is the negative impact AI is giving?
Yeah.
Positive, pretty much everybody knows it.
Correct. Right. So I'll start with a quick story which happened over this weekend. So we were at a birthday party, and I was talking to one of my friends. He's in IT, right? Now, customer service, IT, these are the jobs which are like the highest being affected by AI. His company had like 50 developers, for example. And then he said that in the last 1 year, in the last 12 months, our workforce has been cut down from 50 to 25, right? And for all the IT listeners here, right? They were doing peer programming with 2 or 3 developers together, right? So what the company did is, rather than having those 2 developers work together, they have put a developer and Chat GPT with it, right? So right now your code and everything, once you do with it, you basically input that to Chat GPT and it verifies, making sure that the code is written correctly, right? So you see how it has replaced. If people think that AI is not going to impact them in any way, then obviously it's a bit of a myth. Companies are working very, very hard, and obviously for the benefit as well, but these things will impact jobs.
As a normal employee, it's impacting them. But on the other side of the coin, I would say companies are definitely getting a benefit of.
Oh yes, absolutely. So they are making right now. It's like how the car factories were in China, right? It's not like people who are working on it; it's the robots who are working on it, right? Similarly, right now you have things like lovable.dev and all, where you can just type prompts and create a website. So you don't require a website developer or create an app in there.
At one extent, I would say it's a bit scary as well. People are losing job. I would say whoever is losing the job, they should look into creating some knowledge with AI to work with AI. Even at the end, I would say AI does need someone to
Correct.
ask the questions. As you mentioned, like they cut down the staff to 25, right? So even one developer, they need it to
Correct.
operate AI. AI cannot operate on their own.
Correct. And then coming back to the business
Yeah.
is here, what we say is that if people are saying that I run a business, but I don't have time for social media marketing or I cannot do my
Yeah.
marketing on my own, then obviously you hire someone. But again, with this AI approach and everything, you can schedule your 30 days worth of content in like one day
Oh,
and
that's
then
correct.
promote your business, right? So what I always say is that yeah, your jobs are going to affect. And as I speak to a lot of people every day, and half of my calls are always related to that somebody wants to quit their job because of whatever toxic culture, or they don't go well with the manager, or obviously they don't have time for their kids and everything. You can always look into businesses which can help you create these time and opportunities. Not that it might just replace your job immediately and you'll make like double the money and everything. It all
For sure.
requires effort.
As we were talking about young entrepreneurs, right? Before, so what they can start with little but no money. Moving to that part, I really want to know basically. So when they are starting a business, for example, even it's a drop shipping or as a sole trader, they want to start. What would you advise? What is the right structure for the company they should start with? Should they start with as a sole trader or partnership firm or as a Pty Ltd?
No, it all depends upon like how big they are trying to create. Like for young entrepreneurs, I wouldn't suggest them to establish a company. It probably costs you a lot of money. In Australia, depending upon, you can spend as much as like about I think $2,000-3,000 to just set up the company and plus more things. The good part, I think, for young entrepreneurs is that start with something, register yourself as sole trader. You don't need to be registered for
Yep.
GST, I think up till $75,000.
73 now.
73 now, yeah. So that is where you can register yourself as a sole trader. I think there is no cost. You can go and apply for a ABN, and yeah, you can just start something. And if that idea goes well, right, then you can look into copywriting your business name and getting more patents out there for your products if you are trying to create a product. And if there is a service and everything, then you can spend a little bit on more on marketing. And if you're passionate about something, just sit on a computer tonight, go to the ATO website and just open up a ABN and start the journey.
And how about the other side, the people who have a money, right? What would they follow? Which structure should they follow?
Right. Again, see, the people who have money, and we do this every day when we sell businesses, right? Now, if I have my own business, I want to go and, for example, buy a petrol station, right? And it's just by myself, and the petrol station, for example, costs about $400,000. If I have the money or I can lend that much money, I'll just do it myself. But if me and you, we sit together and say that let's do something together, but we want to keep our jobs, so we can dedicate like 1 week you dedicate to the business, 1 week I dedicate to the business in terms of looking it, or we basically I look after operations, you look after accounting and sales and everything, right? So you can divide that and obviously open up a partnership firm as well. The things which you have to take care of when you open a partnership firm, and this is what I advise to everyone who new people who get into partnerships and then buy a business, is that make sure you know how we do agreement, contract of sale, and all those agreements are there, franchisee agreement and everything. There should be an agreement between partners and everything should be in writing, that what you want, what are each one's responsibility, how much time they should dedicate to the business, right? Probably you might not do it immediately, but do it after 1 month, 2 months, before it becomes like somebody thinks that the other partner is not putting the same type of efforts but taking 50% of the share, right? So put everything in writing so that if somebody is not performing, you just show it. But if you guys both are going good and everything, you can start that business, go together, make one successful, open another one, make that successful, and then you can have one individually.
So I think that's the biggest mistake some people actually does, that when they are starting a business in partnership, they don't do any paperwork. It's just all verbal, and then these kind of clashes happen and they end up selling the business or running it down. Moving to the next thing on my mind is basically, for example, as we discuss about independent business and franchises, right? Can you share the pros and cons for buying a existing business or starting it from scratch?
Buying an existing business is that what's the revenue, what's the brand value of that existing business, how many customers come in every day, right? And what the business is making, the rent and everything is there, right? So when you get into the business, the first day you take over, you know that if I run it in the same way, last year if the business was making $100,000, if I run it in the same way, and obviously there are no situations like COVID or anything, and if it's a normal scenario, right, I'll still make about $100,000. But my idea is that if I put that extra effort in marketing or something, if I can grow this one, right, more. With the new business, it's like you have started it, right? You don't know how many customers would come in on the first day, right? You have rented it out, right? A place. So you need to basically have a backup of at least 6 months so that like you don't finish up all your money in the first month and then you have nothing to go to, because you don't know, it's you're going into an unknown, right? But then if you're starting a new business, and this is what I recommend many people as well. Sometimes people want to start a new business they're passionate about with their job, and they ask me whether we should leave the job and totally focus on this. I always recommend that, no, continue your job, right? I have done that in my life as well. I used to run my first business from my study table, right? Used to work normally 9 to 5 from home, if not in office, right? And then after like 6 o'clock onwards, or probably sit till 12 o'clock in the night, build my own website and everything, and then try to promote my business or look into the details of the business, and obviously working over the weekends as well. And obviously, like, my wife has supported me a lot in growing that, right? So if you have people who support you, right, they can kind of take you to next level.
On to that, as we were discussing off the camera, if foreign investors basically wants to invest in Australia in existing business, definitely. So what options do they have, or what they consider in mind before considering our existing business?
For foreign investors, again, there are some rules and regulations of what they can invest in and not invest in. Right now, as our company, we just don't deal with business, and like, I'm a business broker, but we do have team of people who deal in acreages, for example. Right. So for foreign investors as well, there are opportunities which are there, starting from farms and acreages, right? There is residential land which they can buy as well, right? Nowadays, I think there is a bit of a stipulation around established housing, which they cannot buy, right? And then there are these freehold businesses which they can invest in. Something like Australia Post, they wouldn't let you invest because you need to be an Australian resident. Certain companies, like petroleum companies, would want someone on a visa because they want someone liable for it. But then there are opportunities, like speaking about petrol stations, like you can buy the land of the fuel station like a freehold, right? And then obviously give that business to someone else to run it, who pays you the rent. This is something similar for even local investors as well. Again, there is a lot of, if you go into the CBD apartments in Melbourne, Sydney, it's being owned by foreign investors, and then people have put that on Airbnb. Our rental department can help people buy we can help you buy an apartment like from the real estate side, but our rental department can help you actually put that on Airbnb, right? And it has an occupancy rate of anywhere around 65 to 70%. So that can give you anywhere about better returns than long-term rentals. And obviously you have a holiday home to go to every 6 months.
Definitely. And if we specifically talk about business, like for example, I have someone, right? He wanna invest in Australia. He's not any visa. He's in India. What kind of business he can actually invest in?
Again, depending upon another sector which is good is childcare, right? Childcare is again a very good investment, and we do deal a lot in childcare investment as well, where you can basically find a childcare land, right? And then build a childcare on it and give it to someone like a good start early learning or explorers or petite or someone like that, right? Who can basically pay you the rent, right? Or you hire a team of local people and then appoint a general manager or a director in the company who give them a little bit of share as well, so that they take the onus of running it well. And that is where you can do that.
So next question on mind, I really want to know right now in Australia, what are the businesses are actually arriving, especially after the COVID?
So in Australia, after COVID, lot has changed, right? A lot of businesses which were doing really well pre-COVID, right? And again, it's not just COVID which has impacted it. It's the interest rates as well, right? People's spending power has become a bit lesser, right? The businesses which are kind of being currently in Australia, petrol stations, cat slaughtos, play centers, right? Post offices. That is what people want, because they are businesses which people think that are good, and always we will be in demand, right? Surprisingly, we have right now I'm getting a lot of businesses around online stores as well. Last week I had someone who was trying to sell their Amazon store, and I was surprised they set up the store like 2 years back, and it's a drop shipping model and everything, and they make somewhere the revenue was about $400,000, right? Which was very good. And this guy is just sitting on a table in the side of his home and doing this, right? Or from his mobile whenever they are on holidays as well. So that is also something can be established. We sell a lot of online businesses as well, which can be another one, which like recently we are selling is a rug store, right? Very popular as well. And again, drop shipping model, right? Also, I get a lot of questions around passive incomes and all that, right? So there are businesses like laundromats, but again, hard to get, right? Because due to the Environmental Protection Act, EPA formalities, and there are like automatic car washes as well, right? So those are something which we call definitely under management businesses.
So when you're mentioning laundromats and these businesses, does that mean like if somebody buy a laundromat, they don't have to work there? So it'll full-fledgedly run under management.
So exactly. So again, the thing is how you have managed that process, right? I have actually someone who runs a laundromat in Tasmania, lives in Melbourne, goes there once in 6 months, but he has a cleaning company who comes and cleans everything, looks after the machines. And with technology, he has cameras there where he can monitor. People come in, swipe the cards, and obviously they have a maintenance contract as well. So anything happens to the machine, there are local mechanics or plumbers or electricians who can come and basically fix the problems and all that other things and utilities that's being managed by the cleaning company. So you spend that type of money, right? And then you are able to kind of run it from everywhere, anywhere.
So if we talk about laundromats numbers, do you have any specific you can share? especially on the numbers, like how much you can buy it for and what are the expenses and what you make
See,
sort of?
on setting up a new laundromat could cost you somewhere about $300,000 or so, like with all the machines and everything, right? Anywhere between 300,000 to 400,000, depending upon how many machines you have, right? In terms of numbers, now the profitability, it's not very high. Laundromats normally go for probably about 5x, to be fair, of the revenue they make. If they are making, for example, $80,000, that's the revenue, right? You'll minus the rent out of it. The rent is not very high because it's not a operating shop. It's just a small shop on the side or underneath an apartment and everything, right? And then you don't have any expenses related, the employees, right? Which is a big saving. Normally they would go for something like which makes about 80,000, right? Can go
month.
for, no, a year.
A year.
A year can go for anywhere between $300,000 to $400,000. The other thing you need to be careful about is how old is the laundromat, because normally these machines, their life is about 10 years.
Usually,
right?
yeah.
And these machines are really expensive. You're looking at anywhere between $15,000 to $20,000 minimum to replace like a dryer or a washing machine, because they are commercial grade ones.
Commercial ones. And when you're mentioning 80,000 a year, that's after the expenses, is it?
No, that is before
the
expenses.
So give or take, I would say after expense, somewhere you'll be making around
40 to $50,000.
For example, somebody, as we were discussing earlier, somebody has the money and they want to open the business. They don't have a knowledge about the business. First thing, would you recommend somebody who don't have a knowledge of that particular business to buy that business?
This depends upon what type of business they are getting into, and that is where people like me or other business advisors come into play. When you are starting a business journey, it's normally people say, right, like business is my second child or third child. If they have like 2 kids, they'll say that business is my third child, right? So the idea behind that is that when you are getting into a business journey, obviously you talk to someone like us, right? Get some ideas what is there out in the market with your budget and what amount of time you want to spend on it and what stage of life, as I said, you are in. And it's not like if you don't, as you said, that people don't have that skill set. But yes, there are businesses where people can kind of come in, invest in, and then learn the processes.
How about if somebody is buying an independent business, but they don't know anything about it?
Yeah.
And they don't want to hire any business advisor at that particular stage because of their budget or could be any reason. What do you suggest for them?
If you don't have that experience, but you are trying to get into a business, for example, if Rohit, you are my friend and you said, Vaibhav, I have been doing this for last 4 years, but I want to sell this business. I say, oh, Rohit, I know you do it really good. You make good money, but give this business to me, right? So my idea should be when I'm doing a contract with you, it should be that proper training and support is provided.
Gotcha.
So normally in contracts, we put like a 4-week support and training, right? So which should be good enough for someone to take over a business unless it's like a complex business. When you get into this training, right, you will be explained about who are the suppliers, right? You would understand the business, right? Who are the suppliers who are looking into, who are supplying you with the products, right? The other thing is if it's a veggie store, right, you might have to go to the wholesale market and everything, right? Like probably twice a week, right? Where again, as part of your training, you would go with the vendor, right? Or the seller, and you would understand how it works, right? The other thing, what you need to understand is the staffing, right? When this person is leaving, is the staff happy to stay? Because if your staff is there, 50% of your problems are resolved because they exactly know
what to
how to run it, what to buy, how much to buy, right? Normally, if the deal is good, in most of the cases, the vendors are very happy to support the new buyer even afterwards on a phone call or something like that. Once you take over after training, right, they're happy to support you as well, right? So depending upon business to business, your trainings time could vary, but I think in 4 weeks you'll be able to understand.
Before we finish this episode, right, the last thing I would like to know, any myth that you think people should know about it, especially owning a business.
When people think that I buy this business, and especially when people call it under management business, right? A lot of sometimes some of the brokers they quote as under management. I always say to them that it still requires 20% of your time, right? You still need to look into staffing, rostering. You still need to look into stock. You still need to look into sales and marketing. You still need to look into accounting. If you let these things go out of your hand, it might become difficult to run that business. So when you are trying to buy the business, don't think that you will continue. And trust me, it's coming from me who has seen a lot of businesses, right? Where I have seen 3, 4 friends buy a good running business, but all of them continued with their jobs and businesses individually as well. And 1 year down the line, no one is happy to come to the store because they think that, oh, why they are wasting time here, because otherwise they can work there and make more money somewhere else, right? So your business needs to be your priority, right? Whether like going to a movie is more priority or your business is more priority, yes, your business should be your priority after your family.
Thank you so much for your time today, Vaibhav.
Sure, right.
And yeah, I think this episode would help the people who are actually planning to buy a business or who was trying to get into the business, leaving their job, as we discussed. So thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's a wrap up of another powerful episode of Real Talks with Rohit Jaichand. Biggest thanks to Vaibhav for breaking down the reality of business buying. Let us know your biggest takeaway from this episode, and if you have started or bought a business, share your journey. Thanks for watching this video till end. Before you go, please do 3 things. Like the video, subscribe the channel, and share it with someone who is ready to take control of their future. Until next time, stay curious, stay driven, and as always, keep it real.